Welcome to the Couple-preneurs Show, helping couples in business develop structure and strategies that nurture the balance between business and home, bringing you interviews and insights to give you the secret sauce of power couples. Here are your hosts, Oscar and Kaya Frazier.
Couple-preneurs, entrepreneurs, small business owners, aspiring entrepreneurs. If any of these topics sound remotely close to you, this show is absolutely for you. And of course, we would have a little bit of a fire truck coming by today, but that just shows that when we're live, everything happens, and we all must keep going. So before we get started, why don't we go ahead on and pass it over to Kaya so she can talk about our sponsors.
Absolutely. All right. So our first sponsor for today is Talk Shirt to Me. They have all kinds of cool slogan shirts that speak to you and help you express yourself. Check them out at talkshirttome.com. It's spelled exactly how it sounds. And then we have also Carolina Runners. They are a family-owned trucking company. Owner-operators out there looking for an authority, please check them out at carolina-runners.com.
Wow, look at you. You are definitely rocking and rolling today. Well, I tell you what, so before we get started, let me tell everyone a quick story. So as most of you that know Kai and I, as far as our federal contracting experience, you know that our career started out in the Intel space, and then it went over into the DHS space and CDC and CMS, etc. And we've just been blessed within the federal space, and we enjoy the work that we do. Another portion of what we do is within the artificial intelligence space, where we've supported a number of federal contracting firms within that regard. Today, I think I'm especially excited to introduce this gentleman that we're going to be talking to today. So Mr. Ashwin is the owner of Sapio Analytics, and it's a government advisory firm, and they are specifically focused on artificial intelligence, shadow government support systems, and they represent this across the USA, UK, and India. So it's without further ado that I introduce to all of you, Mr. Ashwin. Mr. Ashwin, how's it going today?
Going great, Oscar.
Excellent, man.
How are you doing?
Oh, great. Yeah, things are excellent on this end. No complaints at all. And so just for the listenership, where are you located right now?
Right now I'm in Mumbai, India.
Okay, got it. So we certainly appreciate your time and jumping on. So why don't we do this? If you can just walk us through, your company, how it got started, and then ultimately the services that you guys provide.
So Sapio Analytics, we are primarily a data-driven government advisory firm. So what we do believe is that all the problems of the world can be solved using data analytics and artificial intelligence. And we work with various governments, primarily in developing economies, in India and various other economies as well. So our US entity is also focused on working with developing countries, where we work on figuring out solutions to the problems, creating new policies, helping governments take decisions, all using artificial intelligence. So this is primarily what we do. We are very active in the space of economic growth, local administration, smart healthcare. Then we have got a division in the law enforcement and intelligence as well. And there's something exciting which we do with the heritage and culture space also. So quite a few divisions which we have. And the focus has always been on figuring out solutions using AI.
Excellent. So if we can dive a little bit more into the healthcare component, because as we all know right now, everyone is concerned and always thinking about, the healthcare areas and solutions thereof. Now, from my experience, with CMS, we were primarily within like the fraud, waste, and abuse component, where we were looking at various tickets or looking at, records and things, medical records, and finding out if there's any sorts of fraud, waste, or abuse that may show up. Now, is there a certain avenue or area that you guys primarily work within the healthcare space?
So our focus is to basically create a smart ecosystem for healthcare, which is about ensuring accessibility of healthcare to places where physical doctors, presence is not, physical hospitals cannot be present. So basically, use again digital presence to and again use artificial intelligence as well to help the patients in those areas which are remote, and that can be any area in the world. So effectively, with the power of remote access and use of AI in various things that we use, we can actually provide high-end, medical services, healthcare services to those areas which do not have any physical hospital. So that's primarily the main thing which is under the smart healthcare ecosystem. So the way it works is that let's say a remote area within India does not have any physical healthcare center. Now what happens over there is that how will you actually serve the people over there? So there are certain systems which are there, which is not really in form of human beings, but there will be certain IoT devices being recorded, used to collect data from people, and then that goes to the systems that we have in the hub centers, and based on that, recommendations can be provided to the patients on what they should be doing next. So this is one of the things which comes under this whole smart healthcare ecosystem. Beyond that, what also comes under this is again optimization of resources depending on how the situation is. For example, even being able to predict on a hyperlocal level what kind of disease or outbreak may happen. That again is very exciting because especially more important considering the whole COVID-19 pandemic which came in, to actually figure out on a hyperlocal level, like within a particular locality of a city, of a country, what would be the possibilities of a particular kind of disease being more in a particular time of the year, and how preparations can be made for that well in advance. So these are some of the things which come under the smart healthcare ecosystem that we do.
Absolutely, man. I can only imagine how impactful and useful something like that, would be with this sort of new age technology. So let me ask you, when it comes to social impact, right? Like, so what are some of the social impacts that you have observed with using things like this sort of new age technology?
Okay, so as I mentioned, right from healthcare to economic growth, development, I believe everything, literally, I believe that everything can be solved using AI. So, as an example, for example, again, in some developing countries, we have this concept for economic growth. Now, the way it works is that there are certain unorganized sectors in various countries. Now, what AI can do is that it can act as a guide to that segment which is not in the mainstream and guide them towards growth. There can be policies which can be made to actually understand what they are going through, and based on that, provide support to them. So these are some of the things which we already do, in terms of creating an economic growth possibility out of using AI. Now, the way it works is that, for example, there's a lot of data which is getting generated. Now, what happens is that many of these companies which are or individuals who are not in the mainstream, in an unorganized sector, not part of the overall regular policy making which comes from the government, they may be missed out. But what happens with the new age tech? Firstly, we have to digitize some of the things that they are doing. Based on that digitization, there can be a lot of guidance which can be provided based on the learning which AI will have, of course, more than what they would be otherwise getting, generally. So basically, this is one of the major ways in which we are creating impact in terms of economic growth. Also, in the context of US as well, since you are sitting in the US, recently we were figuring out on what things can be done in terms of social impact, and there was, effectively, we believe AI can also be used to solve one of the biggest problems which exists all over the world, that is of racism. And that there is an entire product that we have created around it as well, which is effectively able to identify subconscious biases within people. So if you do an activity and if you are recording that activity, it of course depends on administration where the activity is being used. But if you are recording an activity which you are doing, and the system is able to suggest that, okay, this activity, probably the decision which you have taken within the context of this activity may be resulting out of some kind of subconscious bias, which effectively becomes, the cause of racism in the long run, then there is a strong element in which we can, kind of control it to some extent if you are at least made aware that you are having this subconscious bias while doing this activity. So yes, these are some of the things. Now I can go on and on about various things that we are doing in different parts of the world. But yeah, these are some of the things that we are doing.
That's outstanding. You piqued my interest whenever you started talking about it being able to predict social bias. Is that something that you see a lot of companies coming to you for? Like, is that a service that you're providing for particular companies? Not to name any particular companies, but
as of now, we are providing this to various local governments, even the police, law enforcement. So this is a service which we are providing to government bodies as of now. But we are of course looking to even engage with companies as and when needed to kind of ensure that this problem is solved.
Yeah. This is excellent information. Now, within the government space, and I know you've touched upon this already a little bit, but within the government, are you working on the federal side, or are you across, state, municipalities, and local, or what's your company's reach right now?
So as I mentioned, we are primarily focused on developing countries, which means we are very active, let's say, in India, and then we are active in South Asia. So basically, when I say this, then when I say government, then I mean governments at all levels, which means the central government as well as the state government as well as the local administration, which will be the city administration. So we are active throughout the layers of different government bodies.
Excellent. For our listenership, okay, we have folks that are, certainly entrepreneurs. We have some that are, well established, and some that are also new as well. Like, what would be some advice that you would give to them as far as they're on their journey to build their companies and to build out? What pieces of advice could you give to them on how to stay the course?
Okay. So first thing I would suggest everyone is to focus on the basics. For example, we have our office in California, in Silicon Valley, and what we always see is that sometimes the focus is on valuation. Focus is on just building an attraction or air around what they are doing. I would recommend entrepreneurs to focus on their basics: revenue, impact, whatever is the basics that they have decided is what they want to drive. In our case, in Sapio, we measure our daily success in terms of the number of lives that we have impacted. That's the only prime measure that we follow. We do not follow any other measure apart from this. And we believe money and everything else is a byproduct. So that's our basis. So similarly, every entrepreneur should have very clear vision of one prime measure that they wish to follow. And that's what they need to keep on moving towards. And everything else will automatically fall in place. So Sapio today, after a recent deal, we just valued at $100 million. And this came in, without really wanting to be valued at that number. It came in simply because we wanted to create and keep on creating impact. Because that's what our prime measure is. So advice for entrepreneurs is to just focus on that one prime measure, what they decide for themselves, which they want to keep on tracking. Something quite basic which they can keep on focusing on and keep on building on it. That's how businesses are supposed to be built, rather than just creating some kind of air around business, or trying to sound cool about business, which is typically the case in amongst many people who I meet in general. So this would be one important message for all entrepreneurs. That's it. And of course, you can keep on remaining focused on the basic only if you are passionate about what you are doing. So that's what I believe as well. When you're waking up in the morning, you should enjoy what you're doing. You should wait for the day to come. So that's also needed, very much needed in the process.
Absolutely.
So,
Great advice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great advice. So how can people get in contact with you? I know that you got your website, which of course we'll post out there, on the actual meeting notes and such. But are there any other methods that you'd like for people to get in contact with you by?
They can connect with me on maybe LinkedIn. You can search my name, connect with me on LinkedIn, mention this particular podcast, and then I'll connect with them. That's the best way.
Absolutely, man. Well,
easy and simple. And
I like it. I'm totally digging it. I mean, I really appreciate your time, Ashwin. We are excited to have had you on the show, and I'm sure our listenership is going to be asking a ton of questions that we'd like to maybe relate back to you. Once the show actually airs. Artificial intelligence and government and social impacts have always been something that our listenership tends to lean towards.
Yeah.
So I certainly appreciate your time today.
And the fact that you have the expertise in so many different avenues, I think that we're definitely going to have a lot of questions that are coming your way after this airs.
Thank you for this. It was an excellent set of questions from your side. Thank you for this.
Okay. Ashwin, take care, man. We'll be talking soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we'll do. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
You've been listening to the Couple-preneurs Show. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.kothoughtleaders.com.